Hello everyone, I am back with my second video. In my first video, I explained the logic for a number sorter program in Python. In this video, I will finally show you the code for that project and explain how it works. Our goal today is to do two things. Number one, initialize the environment for the project, and number two, code. But I will not code it. I have already coded it before. I will show you the code and explain how it works. Let's move on to our first goal, which is initializing the environment for the project. Here we will first make the main.py file which will store all our code and also make a virtual environment for the project using Python's built-in venv module. So what is a virtual environment? A virtual environment in Python is the copy of an original interpreter which you can make for every one of your applications. The reason for a virtual environment? Many Python programs use third-party packages and modules. That is, they don't come with the regular installation of Python. Each and every application might have different requirements for packages and modules. For example, a program can require version 1 of a certain package, say Django, whereas another application may require a different version, say version 2.3. As you cannot have different versions of the same package in Python, you need to use a different virtual environment. Let's call them VNV for every project. Although we don't have any third-party packages and modules in our current project, I still prefer using a separate VNV for each and every one of my projects. First of all, we need to initialize the virtual environment. Let's see how to do that. I'm on Mac and I'm using normal terminal with sudo enabled, so I'm using hash prompt. If you don't understand some of the terms, no problem, Google them. And especially if you are on Windows, just open up command prompt. This video is for Mac users. If you are on Windows, I can't help you. I'm sorry. So let's first start with ls. ls shows the files that are there in our current directory. Only 3 files. Our main.py is already done. So if you have to create a main.py file, I'm creating a new one. Main1, as I already have main.py. So touch is the command to create new files. Now let's do an ls. Here it is, main1.py. Alright, so now file py, this removes the file. So now it will be ls. Files gone. Let's clear the data. Then now we will initialize the virtual environment. How to do that? Python 3. Originally Mac uses Python 2.7, so if you write Python, it will default to Python 2.7 and it will show you through an error because Python 2.7 doesn't support the current syntax in which I am typing out. So Python 3M, this basically means that you are using Python 3, and then do venv, that is for the module, and then the name that you want for the folder in which the entire virtual environment will be stored. You can name it anything. We can name it number sorter venv. We can name it anything. You can even name it your name. But the best name for a venv is always venv. Let's do it. It will take some time to happen. Stay on the As soon as it's finished, you will see the hash prompt come back up once again. This thing, sh 3.2 right away. Done. So our VM virtual environment is ready. So now, in order to activate the virtual environment, what we'll have to do is, this command is different for Windows users. just do a source, then your folder name, then bin, and then activate. This activate file has to be run only with the source command, or else it won't work. It's written inside the activity file also, activate file also. Let's start. It's done. See, there's a new venv written before sh3 3.2. So which means that all of our programs will now be executed using the venv instead of the default installation, which in my case for Python 2 it's Python 2.7, which comes with every macOS, and the Python 3 installation is Python 3.9.4 as far as I remember. Yeah. So to check that, as I am using Python 3 venv, the version of the virtual environments Python is same as my default Python 3 installation. So let's check the version. It's Python 3.9.4. Okay. So now let's run the file once. I haven't shown you the code yet. Let's run the file. So in the previous video I explained what our inputs are. So this is our first input, the length of list of numbers. Let's give, for example, say 4. The type for sorting. Next is the type for sorting. A is for ascending and D is for descending. In the code there is a small trick which I'll show you as we go into the code. So let's do ascending, enter one number. Let's say 10. Another number 5, 2, and 15. It should stop here. It did, and the sorted list of numbers, it gave out the sorted list of numbers. So that is what the output of the main.py file is. Okay, so this is the code for ascending, descending order sorter. Let me explain the code line by line to you. First of all, I have written some bragging about ourselves. Then this is the numList variable. NumList stands for unsorted list, which I explained in my previous video, and length is the list length, which I explained in the previous video. And by the way, if you haven't seen the video yet, check out in the description. I will also give the link in the iBox. And this is the I is equal to 0. Every seasoned programmer should know that this is for the iterative variable. Length is our first input. Then type is our second one. So the type can be of two types. A for ascending and D for descending. This means that type will take only two types of inputs and work. Notice here that I have changed type to type.upper. Why is that so? This is because the user can give, instead of giving capital A and capital D, the user can give small a or small d, which is not a very good thing. Cut that part out. Why is that so? This is because the user can intentionally or by mistake type small a instead of capital A and small d instead of capital D. Of course, you can check for this in the conditional statement right over here. However, this method is not feasible for inputs with a large number of characters in them. If that is so, then you'll have to check for thousands and thousands of such conditions in which the user can give something like, instead of giving say I give AO, the user can give capital A small o, capital A capital O, small a small o, and small a capital O. 4 possibilities. You have to check for all of them. That's not at all feasible. So what you do is that you change the entire input to the uppercase. Upper stands for that only, and then check for the capitalized version of the input in your conditional statements. Here I have given itself that A is for ascending, D is for descending, and over here I have checked for capital A and capital D. Next comes the while loop. In this loop, what I do is that I take each of the numbers in the list as input. This loop will continue, as I explained in my previous video, until I, which is the iterative variable, is less than sorry, until I is greater than or equal to length. In this loop, every time the loop repeats, the program will take input take one number as input, convert it to int in the same line as I explained in the length part, and then append that number to the num list, which stands for unsorted list. Then the number is set to 0 once again. This step is pretty unnecessary, so you may omit it. And after that, I is incremented by 1. If you don't do this, this while loop will continue forever and forever and forever and forever and forever, and you will have to use Control C in your terminal to stop it. Right after this comes another while loop. So for the while loop, what I have to do is that I again set I is equal to 0, because I love using I as an iterative variable. Ordered list is our sorted list, and that is set to an empty list. Now what this while loop does is that it appends an empty string to ordered list until the length of ordered list is the same as num list. And after that, as always, we iterate I we increment I by 1. So notice the difference between the two syntaxes. This is basically both of them mean the same. I plus is equal to 1 is the shorthand for I is equal to I plus 1. In other programming languages, this can be done even shorter by using I plus plus, but Python doesn't support that. Now is the time for the sorting. First, I check whether the type is A, which stands for ascending as written here, and D, which stands for descending. Then, as always, I set I to 0. Basically, both of them are ditto copies except a slight little difference. This is another while loop which appends the numbers into the ordered list once again. This while loop statement is the same as this while loop statement, because the length of everything, if the program goes as expected, then the length of each and every one of the lists, be it ordered list, be it num list, both of them should be the same. And if it is the same, then we can use the same while statement again and again. So let's go into the while loop. As explained earlier, now here we'll use the Python's built-in function min, which takes out the minimum value from a list. For numbers, it will take out the smallest number, and for strings, it will take out the smallest string. So first I is 0, then that means ordered list I, which is the first one, the first item in the list ordered list, is set to the minimum one of numbered list. After that, as explained in my video, we delete that number which has already been appended to ordered list. How do I do that? Del, which stands for delete, then num list, and inside this I get the index of the value. The value is minimum of num list. The index of the value is set inside the third brackets. And after that, as always, increment I by 1. And if the type is D, descending order, which means it will go from maximum to minimum. Basically copy paste the entire code, but this will be max instead of min. What max basically does is the opposite of min. It picks out the largest item in a list or any type of array like variable, any type of array like variables in Python. So as for min, it mean that numbers and strings are can both be chosen. It's the same for max. After this, I turn the entire ordered list variable into a string. Note that ordered list was previously a list, and as I turn it into string, the entire list, where with the curly brackets, the straight third brackets, the string was the quotes, everything is converted into a string. After that, what I do is that I remove all of these characters. the open and close of these brackets, and after that the quotes. Then what I do is I print the sorted list of numbers as ordered list, which was already a string from before.